Well, welcome to day 4 of the Fife Pilgrim Way. We're starting here in Lochore, or just outside Lochore, Cross Hill in fact, and we're heading towards Markinch. You could perhaps say that this was a step back in time, because Lochore is not really that old. It grew up in the late 19th century as a mining village and sort of grew from there. Whereas Markinch is very old, ancient in fact, and some folk reckon it may have been the Pictish capital of Fife. It is in fact so old that it's got a Stob Cross. Yeah, a Stob Cross. And what is a Stob Cross, I hear you say? Well, we've got 12 miles ahead of us. Let's go and find out.
This is today's route in Google Satellite View. Leaving Lochore, we head for Kinglassie and stop for a moment to have a look at Finglassin's well. We then join with the River Leven and skirt Leslie and Glenrothes and head through the Balbirnie estate into Markinch.
Oh, it's so nice to get out into the countryside on a beautiful dewy morning. Hello there. Switch this off, I think. Right, what was I saying there? Yeah, beautiful morning. We're gaining a wee bit of height here, not very much, but it's enough to allow pretty good views all around and the surrounding area. What I've done today is I've actually left, and it is 2 maps for today's walk, 2 Land Ranger Ordnance Survey maps. I mean, I've got the route highlighted on them, but I've decided to leave them in my rucksack because the Fife Pilgrim Way seems to be really very well signposted. And just as a wee experiment, I'm going to see if I can do without them. Just out of interest, you should always have maps with you, and you should know the route beforehand. And you're right, I've examined the route actually very closely. And I kind of know what's going to be coming up before I get there. But yeah, let's see. Just thinking about that wee dog back there. I mean, there was 2 wee dogs, one of them was alright, but the one that came rushing at me hell for leather was, you know, it's always a bit of a cause for concern, to be honest. I would think for anybody, you know, if something's rushing at you full pelt, then that is a cause for concern. And it is sometimes tempting to get a wee bit of a kick in there first, before waiting to see if it's going to bite you, you know. because I've been bitten by a Jack Russell before and I'm very wary of small dogs. It was quite a few years ago. I was on a kind of bit of a track, not unlike this in fact, and the Jack Russell was on its own. And you know, I made it quite clear. I was passing by. I wasn't close to it. You know, I gave it plenty of room. And out of sheer badness, unbeknown to me, it come up behind me and latched itself onto my calf, causing an injury. You know. So yeah, I'm very wary of small dogs. This is why you should always have a map. I would recommend a land ordnance survey land ranger map with the route highlighted before you come out, highlighted in a yellow highlighter pen. Because, as I think I may have said before, the Fife Pilgrim Way isn't the only track in the area. There's going to be lots of footpaths. And you might see the arrow and think that's the way to go, and it's not the way to go. It's clearly a footpath going that way, but it's not the Fife Pilgrim Way, which goes that way. That's lesson 1. When you reach places like Kinglassie, which is also quite an old place, much older than Lochore, it's good to have a bit of a wander around, have a bite to eat, have a wee rest, and just look at the things that are in and around the village. And you know, when I get to places like this, I just love having a look at the old church, because it's amazing the sheer variety of different designs for these buildings and their bell towers. Of course, this one doesn't actually have a bell tower, but what the heck. Lovely. Well, this is Finglassin's well, an old well reputed to have healing properties and a holy well, I suppose you could probably say. Obviously this stonework surrounding it's modern. And I'm sure there's a few springs in the area, but they've obviously identified this one as being the actual well, which has been in existence for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. In the 16th century, during the Protestant Reformation, pilgrimages were outlawed, and in fact after, I think that in the next century, they actually made it a punishable offence for anyone to visit a holy well. Now, if they took that to the extent of it being law, and I'm not sure, perhaps they did, and if that law has not been repealed or whatever the phrase is, then right now we could be breaking the law. There's one thing Finglassin wouldn't have had to put up with, and that would have been aeroplanes, because there's an airfield nearby and I've been constantly buzzed with sound. I think I'm right in the flight path or whatever. Lots of very small aircraft that seem to be very noisy. And the lovely sound of that running water has just served to remind me that I need a pee. So let's go. If you've been following my Fife Pilgrim Way videos, you'll realise that I love maps. In particular, I love old maps. And just past a steading there called the Flowers of May, which is just such a lovely name, the Flowers of May. And it was called that in the first edition Ordnance Survey map, and I dare say it had that name for long before, and it's still called the Flowers of May, past it there. And right at this spot here, where there's a kind of fork in the road, you might say, there used to be a public house or an inn here called the Heather Inn. You know, just a lovely name for an inn, and a lovely spot to have stopped here for a beer and a wee rest. So, you know, it must have been called the Heather Inn for, well, obviously before the middle of the 19th century, when the first edition Ordnance Survey map came out. And I think the last map that I checked was the 1940s, and it was still called the Heather Inn there. Now there's nothing. What a shame, you know. This is what these walks are all about. Just finding a wee quiet spot in the countryside. You've got to be quite careful when you sit on an old wall. I remember years ago on some long distance walk somewhere down in England, I can't remember where it was, and I wasn't actually going to sit on the wall, but for some reason I was going over it and rather foolishly ignored the kind of large gap in the middle of the wall, and when I kind of put my hand on it the whole thing collapsed, which, you know, might not have been so funny. Yeah. Ham. It's September and harvesting time. Everything just looks beautiful. Absolute heaven. Well, we've still got a few miles ahead of us yet. We're kind of going downhill towards the River Leven, I think is its name. And then we'll turn right and skirt Leslie and Glenrothes, and then work our way into Markinch. But as I say, there's a bit to go yet. Endless woods. Woods that never end. While we skirt Leslie. And to be honest, I would much rather have gone through Leslie. 'Cause I quite like going through villages and all stuff just to have a look at the buildings. Because once you've seen one tree, you've pretty much seen them all, you know. It starts to get a little bit boring. Alright, I surrender. I'm going to have to take my map out of the rucksack. I just got through some sort of park there, and there's arrows and numbers and signs all over the shop, and all of a sudden I don't see the one that I want to see. Right, where are we here? I mean, I know that round about now, and I'm thinking this is it here. I hit a main road and cross it, but the exact details I'm not entirely sure. So just give me a second till I figure things out here. One of the perils of having a very old map or one that's not that old but one that's done, is that every time you open it out you hear an alarming tearing sound. That's not the right one. Right. I get lost there. Get lost in a park. I've been up mountains and I get lost in a park. There was just too many arrows. There was numbers and arrows and posts and different coloured circles, but not the little sign that I was looking for. It must have just gone the wrong way at one point. And we're sort of skirting Glenrothes now, not too far away from Markinch. And for me, this pretty much sums up what Glenrothes is all about. A concrete hippo.
This is Markinch's Stob Cross, a big lump of stone with a cross roughly carved on it. It can be very hard dating these things. The Picts created what are called cross slabs, which were huge slabs of stone with a carved cross. But these were finely carved and included intricate Pictish designs, very different to what we see here. To my eyes, Markinch's Stob Cross looks either unfinished or damaged. If this is how it's meant to look, then it's really crudely executed. Did the carver lose interest after a while? Who knows? It's thought to be early medieval, but at the end of the day, your guess is as good as mine.
Well, that's me just at the foot or the base of St Drosson's Church Tower in Markinch, and this is where I'm going to finish today's walk. The last couple of miles skirting Glenrothes and through, was it Balbirnie Estate or whatever you call it, was tortuous. Tempted to say I don't want to see any more trees. It was a bit of a slog, you know, and it's very hard at trying to kind of get a handle on exactly which way to go on your map, because it's all over the shop, the route, and so you're pretty much reliant on the waymarks or the logos and the arrows and things. A couple of which have been vandalised, you know, which makes it difficult. Anyway, that's us done. I'm looking forward to day 5 on the Fife Pilgrim Way, which is between Markinch and Ceres. And hopefully by the time I get around to doing that walk, I'll have figured out how to actually pronounce Ceres, because I'm not convinced that that's how you pronounce it. I'm Eddie Burns. I'll see you again.